Okay, hello. So, in this game, I am playing Jungle Gragas. So the first thing I noticed is that Hecarim took Predator and went water walking and Celerity right away. And the thing about that is that I will dominate a former pro player. Just put out a video talking about how great Hecarim is today. And so I knew right away that Hecarim was going to try and do the same thing that video said. Or at least that's what I assume, because you see that all the time in Silver. It's just like people copying what pro players post a video about, and I apologize for the squeaky chair. So the first thing I call for is I call for Garen to come to blue buff, because I know Hecarim's going to start bot side. And probably go into Krugs, is what I assume. I assume he's going to go red into Krugs base by Predator Boots. And then gank. It's not actually what ends up happening. He does go red into Krugs, I believe, and then gank bot right away. But I knew that he's not going to be on top side. And there's three of us here, and Fiora didn't check it, so I end up full clearing top side. No, I take his blue and his wolves. So I take blue and wolves right away, just to get those away from him. He doesn't vertical jungle into my bot side, so I end up 3-buffing him essentially. But he gets a kill early on. So while we're doing blue buff, I'll kind of go over what's going on in the game and the matchups. Fiora went Conqueror, Garen went Grasp. I think Fiora's going to win that one right away. Talon went Electrocute, they went Electrocute. I don't really know how Assassin matchups go. Lucian Braum is obviously a ridiculously strong bot lane because of the Braum passive. And especially since Braum ends up having exhaust, he has that kind of pressure because MF with heal and Leona with ignite is not going to do as much damage. And so we have no vision of where Hecarim's going. I can actually put this on red side fog. That'll be easier to communicate. And so I'm doing Crab. Garen's already spam pinging for assistance at this point, but I don't have E leveled up because I only took 2 camps. Zed targets Talon to do the same thing, and I'm saying, hey, I don't have E. So Garen's pinging it enough, and I know this Fiora's really low, so I could try to come in here. And I have W, and I probably could just flash W here. Or flash and predict the Q, but I'm not a good player. So I go up and get the flash. Hecarim gets the early gank, kills MF, which is unfortunate, but not the end of the world, honestly. I go into my second buff here, knowing that it's going to be relatively easy to do. Because I'm not really worried about Hecarim going into my blue side jungle after getting that early gank, because I don't think he'll early gank and vertical jungle at the same time. At least most people in Silver 2 don't do that. And so I just kind of start full clearing my way down. So he's gotten pressured out of lane twice now, just by getting Flash Ignite, and he's sub 100 HP, so I try to ping him off. Not on a ward here, but I'm not really sure where Talon is. We don't know where the bot side is, so I'm worried that they could be on this blue buff. But since they're both level 3, I'm not really worried. Because they do have Flash, and they do have my E even after I blast cone. So I'm probably safe. I'd pinged Zed off of mid lane a couple of times at this point, but he stayed at 100 HP and ended up just getting run down like in the streets like the degenerate he is, I believe is the donkey quote. I end up just full clearing. Zed's flaming me in chat already, which is, yeah, it ends up flaming me a lot. I believe he called me a coon, and I reported him for it at the end of the game, to be honest. So, not a great start to the game, but it ends up going okay. I missed the E on the little wolf on the left there, so I probably could have done that better. Also, I'm not resetting the wolf's auto attacks very well there. Garen teleports back in the lane, which is okay, because I'm not really expecting him to gank bot here, or help me in this gank bot here. I try to look for something, especially after they got that first blood, because I think it'll help, but then I realized that Leash and Brahma are behind that bottom part of the wall, and there's really no chance I'm going to end up getting it. So I come in to clear the pink ward out at least, just to kind of show my face and say, hey, I'm here. I'm not really trying to go on this at first, but then I realize I can get a 2-man body slam there, and I think we can kill. We end up getting a double here, which is really nice. I go back over. I'm not really worried about running into Talon here. And then he shows on turret, which is okay. I wait a second here for Zed to catch back up. Especially since he doesn't have ult, I don't think he'll be able to close the gap as well. And so that was an interesting interaction. I actually ended up getting the W auto off on him, but didn't end up body slamming him, which is unfortunate. Now we don't really know where Talon went, but I don't think it's worth chasing, especially since he's got that hardcore parkour ability to just hop every wall. We see the ward in red pit, but it's going to expire before my red buff comes back up, so I'm not worried about clearing it. But that pink ward that's behind our red, I go to clear here. And I'm going to look to crab. I apologize for the sniffles. I realize Talon's far enough back and Zed doesn't have any sort of commitment ability. I realize that we haven't seen Hecarim in a while, so I just go for the blue buff here, which is actually pretty risky because we lose sight of Talon for a second there, and he could have easily just come over. But nobody seemed to be contesting this or really worrying about the top side. I didn't even know Hecarim executed that game. I never noticed. I guess I didn't check the scoreboard enough. So I get a second blue buff of the game, which ends up working out well. I do that just to check and see if he's coming through on the plant backwards instead of looking for a fewer ward. Plus, since I see Garen's basically no HP and looking to back, I'm not really worried about trying to gank her right now. I don't know where Talon is. I assume he's back in base after killing Zed, so I don't bother going to mess with the wave. I just go up here and look to gank Fiora. I just hit her back into the tower and give her aggro. I expected her to flash, because I thought I would be back up by now, so I threw the E forward where I was expecting her to flash too. Looking back at it now, I realize she was a couple seconds off, but, you know, I was a couple seconds off on my flash timer, but that's okay. Got the kill anyway, just throwing the ult onto her, giving her tower aggro and killing her. I go to do Krugs here. I've got a lot of gold at this point. I want to say I've got maybe 2,000 or 2,200 when I end up basing. I believe I just full buy Runic Echoes here and boots, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Hecarim puts a lot of pressure bot lane this game, and Leona and Misfortune don't really handle it very well, so I don't end up staying down there too much because I think they're kind of a lost lane. But the problem is kind of every lane lost, so where I ended up going didn't go great. I'm looking to mid here because Talon is obviously already killed Zed once, and so I'm looking to at least alleviate some of the pressure. I really fucked that up, which is just horrible. We still get the kill, but I really messed that one up. I don't think Zed had to die there. I think if he had ulted as soon as I came in, we could have killed him quicker. Or I suppose he could have flashed out, but it's not really worth going on that type of thing. cancel an auto attack there, but it'll end up being okay. Let's go back into my jungle because I realize that their bot lane's missing, Talon's not really gankable, and I'm on the opposite side of the map from Fiora, so I can't really do anything here. I don't think going to Dragon right now, especially with how easily Talon can just hop walls and get there before Zed will, is a good idea. But I find 2 pink wards with the Scrying Orb, so I end up just going in to clear the 1. I pinged the other one out just in case my bot lane missed it, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get it safely. Zed dies again, which is unfortunate to say the least. At this point, Garen Rush Kindle Gem, part of the Black Cleaver, which is, I don't believe to be optimal. Fiora is very, very, very far ahead of him, doubling his CS and has a kill up on him. Now, here's the weird thing. I see Hecarim there, and I realize he has a tiny amount of HP. I don't throw the ult at him because I don't think it'll kill him, plus I don't know Lucian's healing cooldown. I probably slam out before I get stunned, because otherwise I think I'm going to die. And then they look to pressure the tower, so I stay here even though Fiora's leaving. Or Leona, excuse me. I'm just trying to put pressure down so they don't auto-attack the tower as much. And here's the weird thing. Hecarim just kind of walks up here, and I kill him because he just walked up to me and died. I don't have any cooldowns right now, so I kind of am just looking at me and hoping my E cooldown will come back up. It does right here, just to bop him a little bit, but I'm not really trying to do anything hard. Now I'm looking here for Lucian or Braum, just in case one of them is available. Now this is something I don't normally do, but it ends up working out okay. I checked that bush just in case Lucian's there, and then I realized Braum is surrounded by 4 people alone. So we just decided to kill him. This ends up working out. I expected... I did not expect Zed to actually commit to that, but it ended up working out okay. We get bot tower, which is really good. First tower for MF, and she basically got solo gold on it. Fiora teleports bot, dies, which is always a plus. This red buff's coming up, and I kind of want to stay for it. But then I end up seeing what Leona's doing. Oh, also there's a Hecarim there. Forgot he was there. I see this Talon coming in. Or staying for that tower anyway. And we look for pretty easy. I predict where he is, and he actually flashes. Which I don't think I would have hit him even though he wasn't stealth, but it ended up being okay. Trading my E for his flash always works. Take out the pink ward just because it's there. He's going to drop a ward here. I just finished my base because I don't think it is worth running to Dragon at this exact second. Unfortunately, Zed dies. I definitely should have stayed there, I think, when watching this fight. Because they keep committing, and it doesn't end up going well. And then, whatever the hell happened here happens. I definitely think I should have stayed at this fight, in retrospect. But yeah, everybody ended up dying here, which is unfortunate. I went back and got Oblivion Orb and Zork Shoes here. Parts from Real Nomicon anyway. I had a lot of gold to spend there. Was kind of my logic behind basing. Now here's something I don't really notice until later on in the game, is that Zed just starts taking my red buff at about 15 minutes. Every single time. Fiora's here. I think I can fight her. I end up not being able to fight her. So I have to flash out, but we get the kill, which is pretty nice. we saw Hecarim over here, and Misfortune was getting Taloned. Now, I think I can kill Talon there, but I don't. He ends up living with just over 100 HP, which is unlucky. Crits on spells when is kind of my thought process. Now I realize we can just kill Braum here, because he's definitely out of position. Now I have to run back to Leona, because I'm worried that she's just going to get jumped on by Lucian. We end up putting a lot of pressure towards this mid tower here during the course of this game, but it doesn't end up working out till a much while later. We don't get that first mid tower. Now I go over here just to see if I can wrap around on someone. That was an interesting interaction. I forgot that happened. But go to clear the pink ward just because it's there, and it's pretty free for me to clear. I go up here just to see if I can hecker him a little bit, but end up finding Braum. I have to run because I'm worried about Lucian coming around, but I don't think they had enough CC. Plus, I didn't think that Braum was actually going to... Well, Lucian with Bork does eventually show up, so I have to E out. Yeah, one of the big things that ended up being a problem here is Lucian actually rushed Bork into Black Cleaver this game. So that ended up doing a lot of shredding, especially since I was basically our only tank, because Leona didn't get very tanky this game. Now we're positioning around Dragon. Ocean Drake's pretty nice. We also find some wards, so we clear those out off the Scrying Lord. Scrying Loom? Oh god, I've forgotten the name of the Vision Plant. We pressure mid here again. I think that lockdown would have been good enough if MF had ulted right away to kill Talon, but she didn't, so it didn't end up working out. Zed also didn't ult him, which I also thought could have killed him, but neither of those things happened, unfortunately. I end up basing because I don't have enough health here, plus I have a fair bit of gold. I finish Morellonomicon and buy 2 cloth armors because I start going into tank items after this. I bought Morellonomicon just because I saw Fiora and Lucian rush Blade of the Rune King. Plus, I mean, Hecarim has healing on this W, that's negligible. But mostly because of Fiora and Lucian. Talon, I think, ends up getting Death Dance this game, like 3rd item. So it worked for that too, but that wasn't my intent at the time. I don't have ultimate here when we're going to this Draken fight. Now, here I just whiffed the smite, but end up stealing it with my W. I missed the smite by 73 HP, joy, but it ends up working out as a really okay fight. Getting the Lucian heal cooldown there was completely unintentional, but I'm kind of glad it worked out that way. Leona goes to pressure mid or bot side, which I think is an odd decision. But I just go take this tower. Garen is having a really rough time top, but there's not a whole lot the two of us can do against Fiora as far as I'm aware. I just have to ult Talon off of me, because I think he'll just hop the wall and kill me, but ends up being better in the end. So I just go to pressure mid again, but Talon is immediately there. I look to top side here. Get the crab, pick up some gold. No one got the Rift Herald this game, which is probably a mistake. We could have thrown that down and gotten the mid tier 1 tower much faster. I take Hecarim's blue buff again, just because I know he's not really there. Plus we see Braum on the bottom side of the map, so I know I'm not going to get ganked by too many people that I'm worried about. Because I'm not really worried about Fiora at this point, I'm not really worried about Hecarim. Once I see him, I just decide to smite the Gromp and just walk out. Now he's going to end up face checking me. I start walking into Fiora, but I see him right here, so I'm just going to fight him. Because I've got 2 AP items and he's got no MR. I hold the ult to disengage after I kill Hecarim. The flash E was mostly just to get some distance, but Garen wants to fight to this. He misinterprets this barrel as I want to fight. But it does end up working out in the end, which is kind of nice, but I think it's mostly just because it's a clown fiesta. So say, okay, hey, let's pressure mid. We've got 3 people here, but Misfortune backs away instead of clearing the wave. And Garen ends up leaving. So we lose bot tower, I believe, here. Either on this push or the next push of his. Leona goes in after missing ult on both of them, which sucks. What's here? I'm trying to say, hey, let's back out of here. Let's back out, but people are really content to stay too long. That is clearing my camps again, which is unfortunate. And it's 21 minutes into the game, and I've got more CS than my mid laner and my top laner and my ADC. So I realize that I'm the one who's the furthest ahead. I buy Thornmail right away because I saw the pickaxe in Fiora's inventory, and I realized she was going to be building Ravenous Hydra really quickly. Lucian's Boy, the Rune King, and heal. And I suppose Brahm's Targons to some extent are all good reasons to get Grievous, I think. He took the last red buff and now he's trying to take this one, but I'm just going to smite it away from him because he doesn't need it. At this point he's 3-7 and I'm 7-0, and at this point I'd rather just have it. I see Hecarim here, but he runs away with his E, and he's got mobility boots. Here I don't end up killing Talon either, but Talon, I do enough damage to Talon to make him back off. Braum and Hecarim end up coming in here, which I think is odd. I get the exhaust, pop the plant, and try to run. Unfortunately, that Vital was towards Fiora, and she ends up being the movement speed and the ult onto me to kill me. Leona is up here solo killing the Lucian, which works out okay. The Fiora is actually really the one who ended up getting away this game. I suppose I probably should have ended up ganking her, but I didn't think Garen really seemed to know. Garen didn't really seem to know what he was doing in the matchup to me. Talon's been doing a whole bunch of mid-split pushing, or pushing waves in to mid-tier 2, basically as often as he could all game. So after I bought Thornmail for this, I start going into Dead Man's Plate for the movement speed and the, well, damage. Armor and health is never a bad idea, especially to back up the Thornmail. Normally I don't like buying Thornmail first item because if it's your first tank item, it's kind of shitty, because 275 health and the armor that it gives is not really enough as a first item. But since I had the 300 health from Morel Nomicon, I think it ended up being okay. Or at least was my line of thinking. But going into Dead Man's Plate, going Giants, or the Ruby Crystal first, was my way of backing up that Thornmail passive. Make sure I had enough health. Make a couple of pretty bad decisions this game in regards to when to body slam forward, like here, or not in this instant. Or I just get out of position and kind of cop if Fiora because I can't really catch up to her. Braum flashes in, and Fiora flashes up, or not Fiora. Braum flashed forward and Fiora dashed upwards in order to get in, and I ended up pretty out of position. Talon and Hecarim both dove. They ended up dying for it, which is nice. I should have just not gotten caught there. But I suppose I didn't realize that Fiora was going to catch up to me so quickly. But with Phage and her Q, she's got a lot of mobility. Now these three are positioning him out around mid lane, which is pretty good, because it doesn't hurt to get it away from the mid tier too, because that's a tower I'm really worried about losing. Because that puts a lot of pressure and a lot of ability for Talon to roam. So I think defending mid tier 2 is actually pretty important in this game. Especially with Talon, especially with Hecarim, with Moby Boots, they're trying to roam. They're trying to get around. So later on I end up nearly dying by trying to protect that tower. And we see the Ocean Dragon. We think it ends up being pretty free. I pinged for Garen to go to that wave because I didn't think we were going to end up needing him. I'm staying on the dragon to kind of tell my team, hey, let's just commit to this, get the dragon, back out. The MF ult to zone was actually a pretty good call. Now I see Fiora's all on. She blows parry right away. So I knock her into the team. Or closer to MF and Zed anyway. But the Lucian ult does a ton of damage. And Leona ends up committing to this Hecarim here. Gets a kill, but I believe she ends up dying for it. She doesn't. Wow. Good for her. I forgot this fight went about as well as it could have. Now just coming to get the blue buff. His fortune gives it to me, which is nice. And at this point, I'm thinking that we're kind of in an odd position because we don't have a team that takes Baron very well. Lucian and Fiora will definitely take Baron faster than we will. And we don't really have any initiative to be able to get vision around it too easily. Especially with Talon just being as strong as he was. Yeah, he's 5 and 4 at this point. When he's sitting on 2.5 items, it's a little bit harder. And Zed tries to take red buff again, but Garen ends up getting out with the spin, which is just odd. I don't know why either of them went for it, really. I E'd backwards because I was trying to type. Because I'm trying to talk to my team. But at this point I end up E'ing forward onto Fiora. It does not end up going well because I get Braum ulted. I try to knock Lucian away so I don't die too fast, but Fiora does enough damage to just kill me with her passive marks. And then Hecarim and Lucian just end up cleaning up this fight. So this is our first really bad fight in this game. Misfortune split pushing top lane and gets a tower, which is always a nice 300 gold to her and 100 gold to everybody else. But the 4 kills they picked up, or 3 kills rather, didn't end up being worth it. Especially because getting that top tower didn't really get a whole lot out of it in the end. Because I don't even know if we ever got top tier 2 on the enemy team. And we didn't really get a lot of Baron pressure from it. So it was a objective that didn't really end up having any really good use. They get the Baron here because they cleaned up 3 people. Garen, Leona, Gragas, and I are dead, and we're really the 3 people who can run into a Baron pit. So they pick it up pretty easily, and this is really where the game starts to go bad. So my first thought process here, and something I was typing to my team as I was walking out of base, is that we really just kind of need a turtle. Because we're not really in a position to where we can fight them, especially A, because they have Baron, B, because they're just assassinating a lot better than we are. Fiora's getting picks onto me, onto Garen. Talon can obviously just assassinate MF if he blows a full combo. And one of the problems that we end up having with this game is Zed doesn't put a lot of pressure down onto Lucian or onto Talon, because he has the damage to burst either one of them, but he doesn't end up doing it much. Now I try to E forward here onto Braum just to hit him, but I'm actually kind of glad I missed because it didn't turn into the fight, because I don't think the fight would have gone well. We saw Fiora on the ward, and we know she's coming up here. She's got Guardian Angel at this point, which is not great. This is a big fight. Fiora gets right into the back line, and again, I ult her back so that she's separated from everybody and we can focus her. Which I think ends up working out well. So the first thing I do is try to make sure she dies. Leona gets really far away from the team here, and that's kind of unfortunate. But ends up killing Hecarim, which is good of her. Now Zed goes really far in. Gets a kill on town, thankfully. Lucian and Braum both flash out, but still can't believe I missed that body slam. It was so embarrassing in game. We get the tower, which is really good here. And originally I pinged on my way to get 2. The mid-tier 3 tower, I mean. But I pinged that to back off because Fiora and Hecarim are both alive. I'm trying to tell Misfortune that she's just going to get Predator Moby Boot Hecarim'd. Misfortune pinged at this point that Lucian and Town weren't going to respawn for enough time, but I don't think she realized that Hecarim was back up already. I just go take the Gromp just because it's another 100 gold to pick up before I base. I get to finish Dead Man's Blade here, and I start going into my last item. And I'm just armor stacking at this point to make sure I have enough to try and survive. Fiora clears those raptors and we see her there, and I'm really worried about Talon coming from that same type of area as her. But we don't really know where he is. Now the Mountain Drake's coming up, and I knock Lucian right back into the team, thinking that Zed will ult him, or Garen will get onto him, or Leona will ult first. But she starts with Zenith, and we don't end up catching him really ever in this team fight, I don't think. Zed lost the Assassin v Assassin fight, but we pick up the kill on Fiora, and we try to disengage here. Misfortune goes mid lane instead of coming to Dragon for some godforsaken reason, so we don't end up getting any objective. I go to clear up bot lane because I'm really worried about this being here, especially since Lucian went Black Cleaver, or not Black Cleaver, Blade the Rune King first item, and then Phantom Dancer third. He has a lot of attack speed and can very quickly take these towers, so I'm worried about that. I see they're on Mountain Dragon, but we can't do anything about it, especially with where my team is, and especially since we saw Talon on that ward. We can't do anything about it, especially not alone. I don't believe I can mute Zed's pings in this, unfortunately. I did that in the game pretty early on after he called me that slur. So one of the problems I was running into this game that I think ended up being a problem is that I misunderstood how much people wanted to commit to a certain fight. As in, I thought we could commit to something that other people didn't think we could, and that sort of miscommunication ended up being a big problem this game. Because either I would engage and people didn't think we could, and I would get picked, or I would disengage when I didn't want to take the fight, and then other people would position forward, and it didn't end up going well. I pinged that Baron spawning here, knowing that that's really, really going to be bad if we don't end up getting it. Fiora's bot lane, which is good for us, because we know she doesn't have teleport. I end up going back to base to finish my Giant's Belt and buy the elixir. Zed is way the hell out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and I'm not sure why in this instant, and he ends up dying for it. He was just down in Dragon Pit by himself when Baron's coming up soon. Then Leona gets picked because of it too. And here's one of the problems that we ran into with Talon also, is that we basically had no vision for most of the game. I probably should have been buying more pink wards. Instead of buying that giant spell, I probably could have bought 3 pink wards and had them on the map. Now here I realize that Mr. 2 is basically going to give away Baron, so I commit to this to try and get out. I end up having to flash out, but I was trying to clear the wave and see if I could hold that tower at least, so that they didn't get that much more map pressure from us not having that tower. And one of the problems we run into here is I position forward and the other 2 position backward because I'm trying to clear this pink ward. They go up to Fiora, which makes sense, and then Lucian and Talon. So I ended up dying, and that mistake is what lost us Baron, I found out. So that didn't end up going well. And at this point, the 4 of them are just turtling us out of the base. And obviously, we all know that the other guys are going to go into Baron, especially since my death timer is 35 seconds and Baron's up in 5. And I ping them off here. I ping signal be careful, because I know they're going to die to Baron. But they all committed. I said in chat, you're going to get wiped, and they did. It wasn't even about the Baron, it was just about, even if these 4 had walked over here to try and contest, the other 5 just could have engaged and won anyway. Especially a good Braum ult right about here would have won it. And so I didn't see the point. I tried to ping him off saying, don't die, just stay, hold, get ready to turtle for when they get Baron and try to pressure these 2 inhibs. But, or top and middle inhib, I meant. But they just walk over here with no vision, and Lucian and Braum were sitting here, Fiora was up here, Talon was somewhere over here, but he hopped a bunch of walls, and I don't remember where Hecarim was. But they walked up here, face checked, and died for it. Which is unfortunate, but such is solo queue. I realize a Fiora split pushing. Garen realizes that bot's going, or is going to have a minion wave on, so he wants to go for that. Changes his mind and goes back. At this point, we don't see anybody on the map, and we don't know where the waves are, so I just wait for the minion wave to come back, type something, don't remember what it was at this instant. We still don't see anyone on the map, which is a really big deal. There's a ward right over here, but Misfortune just didn't clear it. Because I don't think she knew where it was, or she just didn't bother to check. Talon comes in, doesn't go for MF, blows his ult, which is nice. Fiora comes in. I end up getting stunned here because I body slammed right into the riposte, and that's what kills me, which is just unfortunate to say the least. So this death over here and this death right here were really my 2 biggest mistakes this game that ended up costing me. Getting stunned was massively bad for us. So they're gonna 4-man push here. And at this point, Lucian is just going ridiculously in because he's got Guardian Angel, which gets popped by Zed, which is kind of nice. I kill Zed in our base, I kill everybody, and this is where we lose. Because they've got 5 and Baron, and we have 0. So it was a game of mistakes, but it ended up going okay. That was my VoD review. Thank you for watching.